everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of News for Normies. I am your host, Millennial Meditations, bringing you a week's worth of news in a relatively short time frame. If this is your first time watching, thank you. I'd encourage you all to go follow me on the different social medias. That'll be linked down below. I always get this backwards, linked below, right there. And if you're watching on YouTube, go follow me on Rumble instead. Rumble is a much better platform, especially for people like myself. But again, all those will be linked below, as well as references for everything I talk about, so that way you know I'm not just coming up with things out of thin air like Candace Owens likes to do. So with that being said, let's get into the news. Chicago. Been in the news a lot lately, and we got some more news coming out of Chicago from this week, as an illegal alien from Mexico apparently shot at DHS agents last weekend while they were conducting immigration enforcement operations. This guy allegedly shot at law enforcement from a, quote, black Jeep, end quote, and attempted to flee, but he was apprehended. He has not been named yet, but apparently he has had prior convictions for felony possession of a weapon, aggravated unlawful use of a weapon/vehicle, and illegal entry. When asking average people for their opinion, everyone said, "No shit, Sherlock." Who would have thought somebody that's illegally entered the country and had prior convictions would also want to shoot at law enforcement that's dealing with illegal immigration? Despite this, Trump says crime is down in Chicago because of DHS Operation Midway Blitz, and he said in his part of his Truth social post, quote, "Shootings are down 35%, robberies are down 41%, and carjackings are down almost 50%, end quote." So I hope these numbers are true and crime continues to fall in Chicago going forward like it did in Washington, D.C. I've never been to Chicago, but as of right now, I really don't want to go, because I can't carry my concealed firearm there. The state of Illinois doesn't recognize Ohio's CCW laws, plus the city of Chicago has their own strict gun enforcement there, so, innocent people are just waiting to be victims of crime. Same with New York and LA. I have no desire to go to those places until they get their shit together. In New York, I have no desire to go and spend my money in a communist utopia. So, that's going to come up later. Speaking of Chicago, District Judge Jeffrey Cummings, who was appointed by Biden, ordered over 600 people to be released from ICE custody in Chicago. Cummings ordered these people to be released because they aren't considered security risks and should be let out while they await their immigration status. And since this is liberal logic we're dealing with, it doesn't have to make sense. And yet again, the left is prioritizing illegal aliens instead of the American people. And newsflash, if you cross the border without going through the proper channels, it is a crime. In my opinion, you should be automatically deported. As I've stated many, 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 many times before, you can't just walk across the border into Canada or Mexico or, do the same in Europe or even China. If you try to go into China illegally, they'll probably just shoot you, and China will come up later in the video as well. So, yeah, why this is even an argument is beyond me. And speaking of left-wing lunacy, an Antifa riot erupted at a TPUSA event in California, but according to CNN, it was a mostly peaceful protest. Now, I was being sarcastic about CNN. I think it was actually CBS that said it was a mostly peaceful protest this time. Like, no joke. But, CBS will have this copyright stricken, so I can't include a clip of that because they're a bunch of assholes. However, according to Fox News, 6 people were arrested, 4 of them being female students at the college between the ages of 20 and 22. and 2 other men were arrested with them. Another fight broke out when one man apparently tried to rob another man of his necklace. I believe that dude was arrested. So yeah, it's funny how the left tries to claim that the right are these ultra-violent fascists and must be stopped, but when you see the Charlie Kirk vigils and events, they're always peaceful, yet it's the left that always engages in the chaos and the violence. So because of this chaos, the DOJ is launching an investigation into the riot, but as I've stated before, I doubt anything will happen, and it's kind of a, too late situation because it already happened. And, it's weird how these things just keep happening. It's almost like somebody's organizing this shit. Weird. Now, speaking of Antifa, the Trump administration has designated 4 European-based groups as foreign terrorist organizations. These are Antifa-aligned organizations. I'm not going to name them because I don't want to give the limelight to these organizations, but they are, from what I have seen, pretty much exactly like the American versions of Antifa, where they go and harass and attack innocent people just to be assholes. So these designations will go into effect November 20th of this year, and what will happen, I'm not sure, but hopefully some sort of crackdown happens with these kinds of groups. And again, breaking the law and facing the consequences of that does not mean that the government is fascist. It means you're a dumbass and you're facing the consequences of your actions. Now, this one is funny, a little funny to me. The Trump administration is considering denying visas for fat people, as well as other people trying to get visas who have severe health conditions such as cardiovascular disease, cancer, and mental health problems. So the funny part is denying visas for fat people. The other stuff is kind of sad, but at the same time, this is to help curb the cost of healthcare in the United States, as people coming to the country with major health conditions put more strain on the healthcare system. Now, while I agree with this Band-Aid solution, other measures need to be taken to reduce healthcare costs, like ending subsidies for pharmaceutical and insurance companies because the government subsidizes those with your and mine tax dollars, reducing some regulations on medications because, some of the medications are very, very cheap to make. But once you go through all the regulations and the guidelines and having to pay all the middlemen, it takes something that goes from, a $10 medication up to $1,000 because you got all this red tape and middlemen involved. And also incentivize people to take care of themselves. Because when you have people who are of your country that are overweight and constantly shoving Oreos and Mountain Dew in their face, well, then they're going to have health problems, and then it puts more strain on the healthcare system. So, also, we should quit allowing people on welfare programs to buy Oreos and Mountain Dew with SNAP and EBT. I'll get into that here in a minute. I should have got more exact information, so bear with me. Now, Trump floated the idea of giving out $2,000 checks to, quote, everyone, end quote, except for high-income people, as you see here in Trump's post on Truth Social. Now, on one hand, I think this is a good way to show everyone that the tariffs are working. On the other hand, I'd like to see the national debt paid down so our economy doesn't completely crash. And I know in the post he says that the tariffs are paying down the debt, but if we took the $2,000 from each person, let me rephrase that. If we took that $2,000 that each person would get and just use that toward the national debt, it would come down even faster. Then the government wouldn't have to tax us so much, and we could just keep as much money. We could keep more of our money that we work for. So, let me know what you're going to do with your $2,000 Trump stimmy down in the comments below. I think I'm going to just put mine in the savings account and hold on to it for a little bit as my wife and I are trying to buy another house sometime in the near future. And that's a damn good segue. Speaking of houses, this is... Now I'm going to have to criticize Trump. for a couple things here, because this one is just a dumb idea. Trump also floated the idea of a 50-year mortgage with the intent of expanding home ownership.
Housing costs are still out of reach, and another thing that your administration is trying to tackle. Many Americans, the average age of first-time home buyers are now up to age 40, which is sad. The country you and I grew up in.
But I inherited that. Look, you have to understand.
Right, but let me get to the question, though, because your housing director has proposed something that has enraged your MAGA friends, which is this 50-year mortgage idea. So a significant MAGA backlash, calling it a giveaway to the banks and simply prolonging the time it would take for Americans to own a home outright. Is that really a good idea?
It's not even a big deal. I mean, you go from 40 to 50 years, and what it means is 50, you pay something less from 30. That some people had a 40, and then now they have a 50. All it means is you pay less per month. You pay it over a longer period of time. It's not like a big factor. It might help a little bit. But the problem was that Biden did this. He increased the interest rates, and I have a lousy Fed person who's going to be gone in a few months.
This is a very bad idea and reminds me of the precursor to the 2008 mortgage crisis. In short, for those who don't remember, maybe you were, like 5 when that happened. I was in middle school when all that happened. The 2008 home mortgage crisis began due to a lot of people who shouldn't have had mortgages getting them, then defaulting on the loans, and the banks losing money. Not that I'm trying to, stand up for these big bankers. That's just what happened. So, yeah, if you give people, not give, but if more people buy homes who are not qualified to, then you're only going to set up another housing crisis to happen. Also, the average age of first-time home buyers right now is 40 years old. So if you're 40 years old and you got a 50-year mortgage, you'd pay it off at 90. This just seems like a more palatable version of you'll own nothing and be happy about it. So because of this, Trump faced a lot of backlash immediately, and then publicly stated it was a bad idea and said it was somebody within his administration that came up with it. But at the same time, you went on TV and floated the idea as if it was a great thing. So you got to take some ownership for that one, bud. And Trump has been a real estate guy all his life. Like, he should have heard this and been like, no, that's a dumb idea. I'm not doing that. So, criticizing Trump even more, Trump recently did an interview with Laura Ingraham and doubled down on H-1B visas.
If you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put you.
How did we ever do it before?
Well,
I'll
give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. Making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing. It's very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say a country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
Now, this is one time when J.D. Vance really should have done the talking. And that was funny. I was talking with a friend of mine the other night about J.D. Vance. He's got the same kind of mentality and guts, but little technical difficulties there. Sorry about that. JD has the gusto and mentality that Trump has, but he can articulate things a little bit better. And I definitely think JD Vance should have been the one talking here, because the way Trump said it was not good at all. Trump should have said it like this. He should have said, right now we have a lot of vacant positions for very specific jobs, and for the time being, we need to bring out outside workers. However, we are working to get native-born Americans qualified for these positions in the short term and long term for our country. That's how Trump should have said it. But just to come out and say, we don't have the talent here, we got to bring in outside work, like, that really flies in the face of the America First MAGA type movement that you set out to, bring forth. So, yeah, definitely could have worded that a little bit better. Pardon me while I get a drink of coffee. Drink the coffee, don't breathe the coffee. Okay, now, the government shutdown is finally over. And, personally, I don't care. Like, the entire, 43 days that the government was shut down, I personally did not see a difference in my life because, I still went to work and, I still had income taxes taken out, so how shut down was the government really? And B, I still lived my life. I went to work, went to the grocery store, hung out with friends, went deer hunting last weekend, killed a little buck. Nothing to put on the wall, but meat in the freezer. So, for me, and for a lot of people like me, the government shutdown didn't really affect us. Now, I know that there were a lot of people affected, like I talked about last week with the air traffic controllers and people like that. So, also, if you were affected by the government shutdown, please let me know in the comments below, because I don't want to just seem like a cold-hearted asshole here. But the government shutdown is over. President Trump signed a bill to fund the government on November 12th, and the funding will go through January 30th, 2026. Oh, excuse me. So this fight will likely resume next year. This means that federal employees will receive back pay, but the timing of payments will vary depending on each agency/department. Additionally, SNAP is being restored in full, but may also have delays. Also, I've seen numbers come out that immediately there were like a couple $1 billion worth of Oreos and Mountain Dew purchased with SNAP. So I'm like, cool, we're taking my tax money and giving it to people who don't work to then put junk food in their face and then, raise the cost of healthcare for everybody. Great. That fucking makes a lot of fucking sense. Yeah. So SNAP is being restored in full, but may also have delays. I think I said that already. In the end, Democrats didn't get the extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits, so read the healthcare bullshit for illegals that they wanted, and Republicans faced backlash for conceding to Democrats. I don't know why they would face backlash for that, but whatever. But immediately after the shutdown ended, more smoke about Jeffrey Epstein came out, which I find a little weird. And apparently Democrats leaked emails trying to smear Trump yet again. As I've said before, I want all of this shit to come out about Jeffrey Epstein so it can be put to bed. However, if there was any dirt on Trump, it would have came out during the 2024 presidential campaign and been used to prevent him from becoming president again. So, just release all the stuff that you can that doesn't put any innocent victims or victims of Jeffrey Epstein in harm. Just release it all and be done with it. But, as I've stated before, there is probably a lot of dirt on both Republicans and Democrats, and it would be bad for DC. But, if it's bad for DC, it's probably good for the rest of us, I suppose. Now, as I mentioned earlier about New York City, in their communist utopia, Seattle's about to see the same thing, because election results finally came in nearly 2 weeks after Election Day, which is weird. And the new mayor is Katie Wilson. Katie Wilson is also a Democratic Socialist, aka communist. So in the end, Wilson won with 50.19% of the votes, while incumbent mayor Bruce Harrell had 49.48% of the votes. And just as I said for New York City, once you leave that Democrat hellhole, leave your shitty politics there too. People in Idaho and Utah and Wyoming, they don't want your Democrat bullshit there. You voted in your demise, leave it there. End of story. And I've talked about this shitbag before too. Eric Swalwell. He may be facing charges for potential mortgage and tax fraud. It's funny how Trump's biggest enemies are always guilty for the very things they blamed Trump for. Swalwell responded to these allegations by saying, quote, "As the most vocal critic of Donald Trump over the last decade, and as the only person who still has a surviving lawsuit against him, the only thing I'm surprised about is that it took him this long to come after me," end quote. It's funny how they're using that like a badge of honor. To the rest of us, it makes you just look like a shitbag. And first off, he's not the most vocal critic, as literally everyone on the left has been critical of Trump. And second, Eric Swalwell was literally sleeping with a Chinese spy, so he should be in prison for colluding with the Chinese. Like, how is he still in D.C.? Why has he not been arrested yet? If anybody needs to be arrested, it's this guy. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, one guy that I actually do feel sorry for, John Fetterman, and I never thought I would say that, but he was taken to the hospital after a ventricular fibrillation, I think is how you say that, caused him to become dizzy, and he fell outside of his home in Braddock, Pennsylvania. Apparently he was going for a walk, had a heart flare-up, and fell. Fetterman suffered some injuries to his face, but is recovering since being taken to the hospital. Afterwards, Senator Fetterman said, quote, "If you thought my face looked bad before, wait until you see it now." So I'm glad that he's okay after this medical scare and has a sense of humor about himself. And as I've said before, I'm liking him more and more nowadays. I don't agree with everything he says, but I like him more and more. And who knew that a guy that suffered from a stroke would be the most sensible from the Democrat Party? It's kind of a bad look, you know, for the party as a whole. And speaking of bad looks, we're going to end with this communist shitbag too. Hassan Piker, who, if you don't know, he's a very popular Twitch streamer, was attending a flag-raising ceremony at Tiananmen Gate in China, so Tiananmen Square area, when he was briefly stopped by police.
Roger, you seen this?
Oh, yeah.
Look. Yeah.
这是什么呀？他录的视频。你是他导游？没有。Oh, that's a film. Stop. Okay. 你是他导游啊？他就过来招待一下。是啊，你是导游啊？问问他那个，问问他那刚直播那什么东西啊？让他拿出来给我看。
OK， 要看直播的东西是吗？
对，我看一眼刚你那 photo。
So he wants to see the photo.
Oh, I didn't take a photo. 就刚才他录那个，让他找出来。
So have you recorded anything?
No, not yet. No, 我都看见了。
Yeah, he said he saw.
直播还是什么呀？
Oh, I was holding the camera out, but I didn't do anything yet.
还有个手机后面的背景图。对，拿手机弄一背景，那是什么东西？把它打出来。
No recording.
刚才那个背景。
So he wants to see the background of your.
Oh, of my phone?
Yeah.
Sure.
Or like a live show or.
Other phone.
Oh. Another phone.
Good on there, but my internet is not so good. Okay, we'll
On your-
flip it back. Okay,
the internet on your phone isn't good?
We're back.
We're just waiting for Will to get out of the bathroom now.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if there's a line to the bathroom.
Apparently, this little commie was live streaming to Twitch when a meme popped up on his phone of Mao Zedong, the founder of the modern Chinese Communist Party. The police went through Hassan's phone and the phones of all the people in his crew. It's funny how Hassan sounded surprised in that clip when police asked to go through his phone, as if that's not exactly what communists do, control the speech of the masses. So, funny how the little communist faced communism was like, oh, okay, like, all surprised. Why he's still on Twitch blows my mind, not just for his political views, but because he's also called for conservatives to fear being assaulted and killed, and he likes to shock his dog with a shot collar just for, just being there.
I hate this fucking country so much. You can be on a fucking mountain in the middle of Norway and get better internet than Los Angeles, California. And this is just like a moment of anger. This is a moment of fucking anger for like something that is just so routine, so silly, such a first world problem. But it is emblematic of all of America's much more consequential violence. Okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop. Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby. It's just, you're making her stressed. She just literally is so incredibly spoiled from my mom.
So if you want to see Twitch get rid of Hassan, come visit my Twitch channel sometime and let me know down in the chat there. My Twitch account is linked down below, right there, with everything else down there. And, come join the chat sometime. I may be live streaming tomorrow as I record this. We'll see. Got some stuff going on this weekend, so I'm not sure if I'll be on there. But normally I stream on Sundays, so if you want to talk shit about Hassan, you can find me on Twitch, usually on Sundays around noon Eastern Standard Time. And with that, that is all I've got for this week. Everybody take care, and I will see you all next time. Thank you.